New Mexico Broker Basics, page 36. Figure 3, period 1, example solution. You have the circle, the Earth circle, something like that. You have an A on top, and on the bottom, it's not split in two, it just says per multiplied by B. A over per multiplied by B, 3.64 over 3.24 equals 1.123 per equals 112.3% minus 100% equals 12.3%. A sale leaseback describes a situation in which an owner of property sells the property to an investor and then leases the property back. The primary purpose of a sale leaseback is to enable the person or the organization that sells the property and leases it back to avoid tying up large amounts of capital in real estate investments. A ground lease is ordinarily a long-term lease for a parcel of unimproved land. The tenant pays what is known as a ground rental and pays all taxes and other charges associated with ownership. Termination of leases. Transfer of fee title, ownership, normally will not terminate a lease. Death of either the lessor or the lessee normally will not terminate a lease. A tenant's lease is terminated upon eviction by the landlord, either actual or constructive. Constructive eviction occurs when the landlord creates a situation that makes it impossible for the tenant to enjoy peaceful possession according to the terms of the lease. To terminate either an estate from period to period, periodic tenancy, or an estate at will, a notice to quit must be served within a specified time before the end of the tenancy by the party wishing to terminate. No termination notice is required to end an estate for years. A leasehold interest that has a built-in definite termination date. When a tenant unjustifiably retains possession of property other than residential real estate, it is called unlawful detainer. New Mexico Uniform Owner/Resident Relations Act. The purpose of the Uniform Owner/Resident Relations Act 47-8-1 to 47-8-51 NMSA 1978 is to simplify, clarify, modernize, and revise the law governing the rental of dwelling units and the rights and obligations of owners and residents. The Act primarily deals with the terms and conditions that may be included in the required written rental agreements. It also contains the rights and obligations of both owners and residents. Residents are people entitled under a rental agreement to occupy a dwelling unit in peaceful possession to the exclusion of others. Exemptions to the Act include a person who resides in an institution that provides medical, religious, or educational services. The purchaser of a property under a contract of sale. Extra note: a license, active or inactive, expires on the last day of the month following I'm pretty sure like the licensor month every 3 years. It is the broker's responsibility to renew license even if the broker did not receive a renewal form from the commission. The commission shall email to the licensee email address in the commission database necessary web links and any additional forms for online renewal. Something about a 3-year cycle. Brokers are responsible for online renewal. Brokers responsible for providing commission with current email address. Notify within 10 days of any changes. Part 19, broker something and brokerage relationship. 1. Assistance to the party in completing the transaction, unless otherwise agreed in writing by the party to whom the broker is directly providing services, include a timely presentation and response to all offers and counter offers. B. Active participation in assisting in complying with the terms and conditions of the contract and with the finalization of the transaction. Page 37. Fraternal or social organization members who reside in an organization-operated building. Transient occupancy in a hotel or motel. Occupancy by an employee of the owner as a condition of employment, and structures used by the occupant primarily for agricultural purposes. Service of notice. Service of notice is important in rental agreements. A person has notice of a fact if that person has actual knowledge, has received notice or notification, or based on all facts and circumstances known at the time, has reason to know that something exists. A person notifies or gives notice by taking steps reasonably calculated to inform the other person. A person receives a notice or notification when it comes to that person's attention, is delivered to the owner's place of business, or is delivered to the residence unit. Payment of rent. The resident must pay rent according to the rental agreement. If there is no agreement, the resident must pay the fair rental value. This amount is what is generally charged for comparable units. Rent is payable without demand or notice, and unless otherwise agreed, is always payable at the dwelling unit. Periodic rent is payable at the beginning of any term of 1 month or less. Monthly installments are due at the beginning of each monthly period. A 1-month term is from one date of a month to the same date the next month. Residency is month to month unless another time is agreed upon, such as week to week. Rent does not include damage deposits, and damage deposits are not considered rents. An owner is permitted to demand a reasonable deposit to recover damages caused by the resident. The owner is not required to pay interest on the deposit if the deposit does not exceed 1 month's rent, If the term is less than 1 year, the deposit must not exceed 1 month's rent. If the owner receives a deposit greater than 1 month's rent, the owner must annually pay interest equal to past book interest rate. If the last month's rent is prepaid, it is not considered a deposit, and a deposit is not prepaid rent. Upon termination, the owner may apply the deposit to unpaid rent or for damages. The deposit or prepaid rent balance must be mailed to the resident within 30 days, together with a written and itemized accounting. If the owner fails to provide the refund and accounting, the resident may recover the entire deposit, reasonable attorney fees, and court costs. And extra notes, 36 hours. Part 19, duties and brokerage relationships. 2, acknowledgement by the brokers that there may be matters, except for brokers who are exempt from CE by, I don't know, venture or something of, I don't know what that means. 65 years of age and something of 20 years CE licensure prior to July 1st, 2011. A, all active and inactive associate brokers and qualifying brokers shall successfully complete a minimum of 36 credit hours of continuing education during each license cycle. B, requires required courses include a 4-hour core course to be completed annually, a 4-hour core elective course to be completed once during each licensing cycle. Hours of ethics to be completed once during each licensing cycle. Something about related to the transaction that are outside of the brokers. 5, maintenance of any confidential information learned in the course of any prior, and that's the end right there. 7, unless otherwise authorized in writing, brokers, that's the end. E, the seller/owner motivations for selling / leasing, I'm guessing that's the end. F, any other information the seller/owner has requested in writing remain confidential unless disclosures is required by law. 8, unless otherwise authorized in writing, a broker who is directly providing real estate services to a buyer/tenant shall not disclose the following to seller/owner. A, the buyer/tenant has previously indicated they will pay a price greater than the price submitted in written offer. B, the buyer/tenants, I think that's the end. 9, in the event the broker is working for the landlord owner as a residential property manager, The broker additionally owes to the landlord owner all duties under the laws of agency.